This is Al Villapiano, Vice President of Clinical Development for Inflection. In this training video, we'll give you an overview of the client engagement process and introduction to the ASI&V and chat programs. When providing behavioral health services, it's known that the quality of the working relationship, the treatment alliance, or the engagement with our clients or patients is a major factor in positive outcomes. Simply put, if we do not engage effectively, clients will likely not do as well in treatment or follow through with recommendations and referrals. And effective relationships usually result in clients who are more likely to feel heard, to follow through with recommendations, to stay in treatment longer, and to report symptom reduction. And client engagement, as most of us know, usually begins with the first contact, often over the telephone. When using computers and self-administered tools like chat and ASI&V, effective engagement may be more challenging for some staff. Most of us were not trained in using computers and working with our clients, and they feel often that their clients will feel it's too impersonal, or they will not know how to use a computer, not be able to read or understand, or not be honest. But over time, we've heard from our customers and seen in clinical trials and focus groups that client acceptance is very high with both ASI&V and chat, that they find the programs engaging and easy to use, and that they tend to be more candid to the computer than to a face-to-face clinician. And there's a caveat here because it's as long as there's effective engagement, which means that if the clinician meets with the client ahead of time to talk about their role in the assessment process, explains how data is going to be used, and that they will be able to meet later and add additional information and go over the results, clients will feel trusting and tend to self-disclose more. And we did a study of this with the ASI&V where 200 people had an ASI&V or an ASI with a clinician administering the tool 3 days apart, and then the group was reversed. So each of the 200 folks had 2 interviews of the ASI, one the ASI&V and one the clinician-administered ASI. And what we found is that there were 5 of the 7 domains where the composite score was significantly different in the direction of more self-disclosure to the computer than to the face-to-face clinician. And what this means is that clients were self-disclosing more, especially around shame-based questions, to the computer. Now, these were subjects that were part of a research study, so they were incentivized. But we have had this validated a number of times with customers of ours, including those that work with folks in criminal justice settings. And they tell us the key thing that they feel helps clients self-disclose more is talking with them ahead of time, engaging them, and explaining how the data is going to be used, not to punish, but to put a plan together that will help them get their needs met or help the probation department rules be satisfied, etc. So some key points around engagement. Clinical staff are encouraged before someone would take the ASI&V or chat. They're encouraged to introduce themselves and explain their role in the assessment. At the same time, they're checking the client's mental status to make sure they're not at risk for harm. They're telling the clients that they will sit and review the results of the ASI&V or chat with them afterwards and add any information they feel is important. They'll describe how the information will be used, and this is especially important if they are a referral from the criminal justice system, where folks may be fearful that the data may be used punitively against them, and for you to be able to explain as honestly and clearly as possible how you're going to work together and how you're going to use the results goes a long way with helping them answer honestly to the system. And one of the best ways to do it is to talk in a collaborative way about our goal is to put a plan together that best meets your needs. So a sample assessment process might be that the client enters your organization and may be given some paperwork to complete. But at some point, the clinician introduces themselves and engages the client, checks the mental status. Assuming that the client is fine to take the assessment, a non-clinical person can actually set the client up to self-administer the interview. At this point, that staff person can enter the data into the registration page and tell the client that they'll be either over there on the other side of the room or across the hall if they have any questions. And once the client has finished, the narrative report is immediately available, and the clinician can generate that either from their office or in the same room where the client took the ASIMV and chat. And the clinician can review the report, and we encourage them to spend a little bit of time reviewing, circling areas, problem areas that they want to follow up and gather more information or get the client's input on. Then when they sit with the client, they're completing the assessment process, they're showing the client information, and I'll give you an example of that here in a moment. And then you can add to the report either by handwriting it then and typing it in later, or some folks will copy and paste parts of the report into their own forms. But the key point here is the clinician's a bookend. The clinician is engaging the client at the beginning and then reviewing the results with the client at the end and completing their intake evaluation. So additional tips in introducing these tools to clients. We've often heard from folks that say they're effectively using these interviews in their system, that they tell clients this is a computer interview that talks you through each of the questions, that you don't have to read and you don't have to use the keyboard. You can click with the mouse. They also explain that there's a number of different domains that they may think aren't all relevant to the reason that they came there today, but that if they do their best to answer these questions, they'll be able to put a plan in place, hopefully that'll best help them and meet their needs. We often hear people say it's important to tell them this is routine. It's something we ask everyone to do that comes into our system, so they don't feel singled out as having to do this computer program. Also that it's confidential as anything else in their record is in your system. Sometimes people will ask folks if they need a demonstration of how to use the mouse and click on the buttons. And then tell them where you are if they have questions, or to let you know when they're done. And again, because of the information we know with self-disclosure, that people feel more comfortable sometimes answering questions to a computer, we encourage staff not to hover or be right there while the client is answering questions, but be available if they're needed. This is an example of a graphic display of the severity ratings in the ASIMV. And many of our customers tell us they sit down with clients and go over this form as an initial way to talk about the different aspects of their life that may be problematic. So in this example, Mr. Jones, looks like you came in for concerns you have about a drug problem, and the severity rating is 7, which is pretty high. But I also noticed that you have a high medical score and employment. And I wonder if you could tell me a little bit more about what's going on with your medical situation. And tell me more about your job or employment situation and what's happening there. So in that way, you're helping the client think about other areas of their life that may be impacted by alcohol, drug problems, or psychiatric issues, or maybe what other problems in their life may be impacting on alcohol and drug problems. There are a number of guides available online for you to follow up and get more information about this, and there are a number of other videos for you to learn about more aspects of the ASIMV and chat system. Thank you.